Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot using FantasyPros Draft Wizard. The roster positions for today's mock are going to be 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, flex kicker, defense, and 5 bench spots. We'll be drafting up against the Yahoo, NFL, and ESPN pre-draft rankings all combined together. But before we can get on into this mock draft, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into this 12-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot. So up at the 101, to me, there are a few players that you are choosing from. You're choosing from Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, and Ja'Marr Chase to be the 101. If you want to go with running back, if you feel a lot more comfortable having that stable running back in your lineup week in and week out, I am perfectly fine taking either Bijan Robinson or Saquon Barkley. Saquon's my RB2, Bijan is my RB1. Personally, though, if I was up at the 101, I'd say probably 75-ish% of the time, I'm probably going to end up taking Ja'Marr Chase. I just feel as though Ja'Marr Chase is such a safety net in your roster week in and week out. He is the wide receiver 1 on what is going to be one of the most, if not the most, pass-heavy teams in the NFL. And the reason why they are so pass-heavy is not just because Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown out of the backfield, right? When they have all of these great players, it's not even because the offensive players are so great. It's because the defense is so bad. And when the defense is bad, you're going to be seeing a lot of games where the Cincinnati Bengals are in shootouts late in games, or they're trying to crawl back into a game because the defense is getting their back blown out, and thus they're going to have to be throwing the ball a ton late in games. So Ja'Marr Chase, to me, is an incredibly safe pick. He was the Triple Crown winner last year, leading the league in receiving yards, receptions, as well as receiving touchdowns. And I think he could easily do it again in 2025. I think Ja'Marr Chase is a stone cold lock, knock on wood. We don't root for injuries. As long as he doesn't get hurt, I think he is a clear top 5 wide receiver, and I feel very confident picking him at the 101. After Ja'Marr Chase, we see CeeDee Lamb, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley in the top 6. Now, this is a very normal top 6. It's just a little bit out of whack in terms of the order of picks. Typically, you won't see CeeDee Lamb go until about the 105, potentially the 104 at the earliest. Christian McCaffrey goes at the 7th pick, followed by Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Malik Neighbors, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The second round opens with Nico Collins, BTJ, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Bucky Irving, AJ Brown, Drizzy Drake London, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, and Kyron Williams. Pretty running back heavy start. Now, it isn't just all running backs that have came off of the board, but when you see both Achane as well as Genty go inside the first round, when in a lot of leagues they typically fall into the second round, we definitely are leaning a little bit more towards the running backs in this draft, at least based upon how the computer is drafting. So we're back up on the clock here. Best running back available would be Chase Brown. Looking at the wide receivers, it would be Jackson Smith-Njigba, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. If we were to go quarterback, every single quarterback is available. And if we were to go with a tight end, everyone is available outside of Brock Bowers. So to me, I definitely think we want to be getting Chase Brown, whether that's with the 2.12 or the 301. Frankly, it doesn't really matter, but that is how I would look to do things. Now, for some people, they might say, Nick, having 2 players on the Cincinnati Bengals, drafting 2 players with your first 2 picks on the exact same team is something that they don't feel comfortable doing. And while I do understand that assessment, for me, when we have a guy like Chase Brown who is on a team offensively that I believe is going to score so many points with Ja'Marr Chase, I think it's fine. Now, if you're talking about taking 2 guys from the Jets early on, right? You want to get Breece Hall, you want to get Garrett Wilson. I think that is pretty crazy. I think you are probably Fireman Ed if that is the thought that you are having, right? Because I don't think the Jets offense is remotely in the same stratosphere as the Cincinnati Bengals. I am confident drafting players from good teams early, so I am perfectly fine drafting two guys on that exact same team, but I will note that if it was a worse offense, that I would not really feel as comfortable doing so, right? If I wanted Kenneth Walker, I probably don't want to be taking Jackson Smith-Njigba as well as him, because I don't really believe as heavily in that offense as I do with the Cincinnati Bengals. So if you're like, Nick, there is no way, Jose, that I'm taking Chase Brown and Jamar Chase, then all you're going to do is take Jamar Chase, and if things fell this way, you would just take Omarion Hampton, who is my next highest ranked running back. Every day that Najee Harris is not participating in training camp is another day for Omarion Hampton to get a leap up on him. So I feel very, very confident that Hampton will be the running back one to start off the season for the Chargers, and I think he's going to be able to hold that position all year long as he doesn't end up getting banged up. But we will go with Chase Brown. I do have Chase Brown ranked higher. The offensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals recently said that they view Chase Brown in the way that he's almost like Austin Eckler. The guy has great pass catching abilities, and if you tell me that the starting running back on the Cincinnati Bengals is going to be getting a lot of pass catching opportunities, then he legitimately has the upside, the ability to finish as a top 3, top 5 running back, even if you don't believe that Chase Brown is necessarily as good of a running back as a guy like Kyron, Bucky, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, the guys that are going ahead of him. So we are back up on the clock here, and there are a lot of question marks at this point in the draft, in my opinion. You got Tyreek Hill that's dealing with the oblique injury. You have JSN on a Seattle Seahawks offense that I'm not too sure I trust all that much. You got Garrett Wilson on a team that's going to be pretty run heavy. Now, I do like Garrett Wilson a ton. I like T. Higgins a ton, but I'm definitely not going to be drafting 3 players on the fucking Cincinnati Bengals on a team that doesn't have 3 wide receiver spots or 2 flex spots, so he would kind of be ruled out. Tyreek dealing with the injury. I'm still fine taking Tyreek Hill here, but there definitely is more risk than there would have been a couple of days ago before that happened. Devontae Adams I like as well, but I honestly think the safest move here is just not to play that guessing game. Now, I'm not normally someone that likes to take a quarterback super early in my fantasy football drafts. I really don't like doing it because I am much more of a guy that likes to go ahead and get that late round quarterback. Take that upside shot on a guy like Justin Fields. Take the upside shot on a guy like potentially Drizzy Drake May later, even though it's Drizzy Drake London. We got to think of a good nickname for Drake May, but I like doing that. I'm not typically the guy that reaches and grabs a quarterback early, but I think this is around the price where they will be going, either late second or early third round. Typically, you will see by the middle of the third round, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jaden Stormy Daniels are gone. I do have Josh Allen as my quarterback number 1, but between him and Lamar Jackson, they are both very, very close to me. And since we went Josh Allen as our quarterback 1 in a previous mock draft where we did go quarterback a little bit earlier, this time we will go with Lamar Jackson. Now, I do think if you're just in your one home league, you do not have to worry at all about diversifying your fantasy football teams, right? But if you do play in, for instance, 5 leagues, maybe you're someone that plays in 10 fantasy leagues, you might not want to take Josh Allen every single time and sometimes sprinkle in Lamar Jackson. If you were at, say, you had the first overall pick in 10 different drafts, I probably wouldn't take Jamar Chase every time. I wouldn't take Josh Allen every time. I would sprinkle in Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. And since I act like these mock drafts are my real fantasy football teams, we'll go with Lamar Jackson this time just to be a little bit different. I think, again, there's not really a crazy argument to be had if you're like, Nick, I like Lamar Jackson better than Josh Allen. I'm not going to argue with you too much on that. The rushing upside is incredible. An offense that heavily utilizes Lamar Jackson's legs. And Lamar Jackson also has been a very underrated passer. At this point, I don't think anyone even actually underrates his passing ability. No one really calls him a fucking running back anymore. But this guy is nothing short of incredible. Honestly, I think he deserved the MVP last season, not Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson was playing out of his mind last year, and I think he could put up very similar production this year. He's simply just that good, and the coaching staff around him is great as well, and he does have some solid weapons. Lamar Jackson, after we selected him, we see Terry McLaurin. James Cook, who is now potentially ending his holdout. I still don't like picking him in the 3rd round, but now with less kind of quote-unquote holdout discussion, it does at least make me feel better that if you did ultimately make the decision to take James Cook, that you're definitely not 100% getting fucked in the ass, and he's not going to completely miss the first half of the season or maybe sit out the whole year. So After James Cook, Trey McBride, Breece Hall, T. Higgins, Josh Allen, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kenneth Walker, Omarion Hampton, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, George Kittle, Chuba Hubbard, Mike Evans, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Jaden Stormy Daniels, Devontae Adams, Jalen, stop, it hurts, Trayvon Henderson in the 4th round. Now, people are going to get down on their knees and give the gawk 9,000 special to Trayvon Henderson after that performance in his first preseason game. Now, I don't want to blow out of proportions when it's time to talk about preseason games, right? You see guys play well in the preseason all the time, and then they aren't worth jack shit in fantasy that season, or maybe they just end up being a complete and utter bust at the NFL level. But Trayvon Henderson has also been impressing in training camp. All the clips I've seen, especially when he's running routes, he is just routing up these DBs. They can't stay with him. The guy's breaking ankles. So I like Trayvon Henderson a ton. And do I necessarily want to pull the trigger in the 4th round? I definitely prefer if you went a little bit later, but I do get why people are pushing him up. So now at the running back position, we see guys like David Montgomery, RJ Harvey, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Isaiah Pacheco. Definitely not guys I'm really super enticed in drafting with my 4th or 5th round picks. So I'll probably end up waiting on running back and just double tapping on wide receiver. Kyler Murray's play in that preseason game where he just stared down where there's 3 defenders in the face of the wide receiver and just threw it directly at him. I guess the guy was grinding Call of Duty the night before. He was playing Warzone or some shit. He wasn't locked in at all because that was embarrassing. And that does kind of concern me about Marvin Harrison Jr. Just if Kyler Murray can't ever really become the guy that I thought he would be, that might really be what ultimately fucks Marvin Harrison Jr. over. Plus the fact that the coaching staff hasn't changed from last year, and the coaching staff definitely didn't do their best to set up Maserati Marv for success. So here, to me, there is a pretty clear couple of picks here. Again, I love Maserati Marv, but if you take him, you just have to acknowledge the risk. I think DJ Moore will be the wide receiver 1 in Chicago, but everything I read really does point towards Roma Dunze having that breakout year, so there is some concerns with him. To me, the pick would be either DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, and Tet McMillan, and I'm going to be able to get 2 of those guys here. We're going to fill out our whole wide receiver core plus our flex with the 4th and 5th round pick. So, again, it's a toss-up here. In my rankings, I believe I have DJ Moore and Marvin Harrison Jr. ranked higher. But again, these guys are all in a similar range. That's why we do tiered rankings. It's not this super hard take with one guy over the other. Obviously, a lot of the time I just go with my rankings, but I try to do these drafts differently every time. So you guys are not just watching me draft the exact same team every time, because how fucking enjoyable would that be? So we're going to go ahead and go with DK Metcalf here. I like DK Metcalf a ton. Again, I've been talking this guy up all summer long like that Kid Rock song. For years, I was completely off of DK Metcalf. I thought that the wide receiver core around him was really just kind of stealing all the targets away from DK Metcalf, and he couldn't really succeed. Now in Pittsburgh with wide receivers that probably most people that don't heavily focus on fantasy football probably can't even name more than just one other wide receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers outside of DK Metcalf. So he's the clear alpha. Him and Aaron Rodgers clearly have a connection based on everything that I've read, and DK Metcalf is a freak talent. I've been fading him for years, but honestly, I think this is the perfect situation for him to succeed. And then we're going to go ahead and get Tetora McMillan. I think he is more of a risky pick compared to a guy like Cortland Sutton or DJ Moore even, because I think both of those guys have a very stable role early on in the season. And maybe for Tet McMillan, it takes some time for him to carve that role, right? Like Andy Dufresne making that hole in the wall where he carved out that hole and then climbed through the fucking sewer type thing, and then he goes through a football field worth of shit. At least I believe that's what he said towards the end of the movie. That's a fire movie if you have never seen it. Shout out to Brooks. I love Tet McMillan, man. I really think that while it might take some time, the Carolina Panthers offense tried to really push the narrative of throwing the ball a lot late towards the end of last season. Bryce Young looked incredible. He looked solid in preseason. Tet looked solid as well. I know he dropped a touchdown where he was open. He had his hands on it, but I'm not going to panic off of one drop. I think Tet McMillan has a lot of upside. Again, if you want to go safer, you could go with any of those guys, but I'm going to go with Tet McMillan. Maybe he would have came back to us inside of the 6th round, but I think if you're in a competent league, there is no way that's going to end up happening at this point with the drum beat being so hard for Tet McMillan. After Tet, Isaiah Pacheco, Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore, RJ Harvey, who played a majority of the snaps with the starters in preseason. Now, I also saw some report that might have been a little bit fugazi, so take this with a grain of salt, that J.K. Dobbins was supposed to be in, but J.K. Dobbins couldn't find his helmet or something. That may have been fake. I may have gotten centelled. I'm still not 100% onto RJ Harvey because I still do think J.K. Dobbins is going to play enough of a role to frustrate him and potentially even start the year as the Denver Broncos RB1, but I do still believe that RJ Harvey is worth picking, right? Just for me, not in the 5th round. After RJ Harvey, Joe Shiesty, Devontae Smith, Caleb Johnson, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, David Montgomery, Aaron Jones. The 6th round is Sam Laporta, TJ Hawkinson, Pat Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Mark Andrews, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle, Tony Pollard, Quinshawn Judkins, Brian Robinson, Xavier Worthy, and Justin Fields. I'm as much of a Justin Fields stan as there is out there. I've been talking up Justin Fields just like some of these other players like DK Metcalf for a long time. For the whole summer. But Justin Fields in the 6th round, when there are still quarterbacks like Bo Nix available, I think you are just getting a little bit greedy, especially when Justin Fields, a lot of the time, you might be able to pick him with like your 12th round pick. So at least wait until like the 9th round to pick him if you really want him. I think that's definitely a little bit too early. Before we make our next pick, though, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious, you will get your free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash, as well as getting my draft guide as long as you deposit up to $10 on Underdog, as well as play with what you deposited. If you don't know what Underdog is, it's the best part about fantasy football. They have their best ball drafts. It's just the draft, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Underdog automatically puts the highest scores into your lineup at the end of every single week. Their biggest tournament, Best Ball Mania, $2 million in first place, $15 million in total prizes, $25 to enter. They also have smaller contests like the Puffy, which is $5 to enter with $100,000 to first place, so make sure you guys check that out. Promo code Notorious. And if you guys want my draft guide without using Underdog, link in the video description for $12.50 over on Patreon. I also answer questions on there if you have any questions. Reach out to me on there. It's a guaranteed answer, unlike in the comment section where I try to answer every question, but there are a lot of you guys, which I am greatly appreciative of, so thank you to every single person that watches my videos, genuinely. I don't try to get emotional in these videos, but it does genuinely mean everything to me that people enjoy listening to me talk. So we are back up on the clock here, and the running back position is starting to get gross. There are some rumors right now that Travis Etienne is potentially going to get traded. We will see what happens with that. Maybe a little fugazi. Again, I'm not saying with 100% certainty that that will happen, but it is definitely possible. Now, if this league was a 2-flex or 3 wide receiver league, I'm taking Courtland Sutton here every single time and twice on Sunday. I would even consider taking him here and then just potentially trying to trade him and parlay him into selecting another running back by trading him for a running back when he starts to have a really good start to the season. But I also don't think it's very realistic at all that Courtland Sutton would be available at pick 72. That just doesn't really seem very plausible. If he fell into the 5th round, sure, that's definitely possible. But in a lot of leagues, he's going to go by at least the middle of the 5th round, so I'm not going to pick him here because I just think that's a little bit fugazi, and unless you're drafting with complete and utter dumbasses, and even complete and utter dumbasses, right, guys that can't even tie their shoes, they're wearing Velcro shoes at the age of 37, right, they still probably would be taking Courtland Sutton by now, so we're going to go best running back available, and that's going to be Tyrone Tracy to me. Now, the Giants do have Cam Scatterbo behind Tyrone Tracy, but based upon the fact that Cam Scatterbo is banged up, I do really think Tracy at least has a clear role early on in the season. Now, maybe that does end up changing as we get deeper and deeper into the season. Maybe Cam Scatterbo becomes healthy, and maybe they just pivot away from Tyrone Tracy. But based upon all the reports of how many targets Tracy is getting out of the backfield in training camp from Russell Wilson, and how the team really does believe in Tracy to be the guy, we saw some very high highs last season. I get it. It's not going to be smooth sailing for the Giants, right? The Giants might genuinely have the worst roster in the National Football League, or one of the worst, one of the bottom, at least at minimum, they're a bottom 10 team in the NFL. They have one of the hardest schedules, and they're probably going to be getting pounded a lot in games. So you're going to have to hope that the pass catching upside translates to this season. There's going to be some very, very, very low lows for Tyrone Tracy, but I think the high highs also inside of the 6th, 7th round, 6th, 7th round, I think does make me feel a little bit better when I do take him here at the 6.12 or the 701, right? If you just wanted to flip things. Again, it does feel gross having to start a Giants running back week 1, but when you draft a team like this, right, where you have the quote-unquote hero RB with Chase Brown, you are going to be taking a lot of shots late in drafts on the running back position. Again, if this was my home league and Cortland Sutton's still available, I'm taking him every single time. But again, I don't believe it is very realistic at all that he would even be available at this point. Now, we kind of fall into a position here where by the time things swing around at running back, I might not love it. But I also wouldn't be able to forgive myself not taking another wide receiver to potentially start over Ted McMillan early on in the season. Or just outright taking my tight end 1 here for taking a guy like Jalen Warren, who I honestly don't feel the most confident in, taking ETN, who may end up getting traded, right? So I think the smart move here is to just go either tight end or wide receiver. Best tight ends available, the GQ man, Travis Kelce, Mr. Swift. They've got Evan Ingram, David Njoku as well. Deep down, I still think Travis Kelce will probably end up having a halfway decent season. He did end up not living up to expectations last season, but he also wasn't a complete and utter bum that was sinking the battleship of your metaphorical fantasy team. So I would be fine taking Travis Kelce here, and knowing that I probably will like the wide receivers that are available when things come back to me in the 8th round, I'm just going to end up going tight end here. Could be Kelce, could be Ingram. I'm good with either of those options. Since we have taken Ingram more recently in a draft, I will go with Travis Kelce. I do have Travis Kelce ranked higher as well. Again, who knows how, you know how Zac Efron in High School Musical, there's the song, gotta get your head in the game. I don't know if Travis Kelce's head is necessarily in the game, but I do still think the guy is an incredible talent. And early on the season without Rashee Rice, maybe Travis Kelce's a guy that is a early season hammer, and then you trade him off before he ends up falling off the edge of the earth. But again, Travis Kelce is on an elite offense, probably going to be one of the better offenses in the NFL. So why not take Travis Kelce there? Now, the coach insight thing at the bottom right of Fantasy Pros just said, oh, you have multiple players on bye in week number 10. I don't give a fuck. By the time we get to week 10, some of the players on my team will be hurt, right? By the time we finish this roster, more than likely, someone is going to be hurt. More than likely, multiple players that we draft will be on the waiver wire, not on our team, and we'll have some brand new, fresh meat, shout out to Pudge, on our team, right? So why bother panicking about the bye weeks? Now, if you're going to draft Travis Kelce and you want to draft a backup tight end because he's an unk and I don't know what he's going to do, then you don't want to be drafting the bye weeks to be the same. Same thing at quarterback. I'm never drafting a backup quarterback if I select Lamar Jackson, but if you wanted to for some odd reason, then you just want to make sure that that quarterback that you take doesn't have bye 7. If you take a backup tight end, they cannot have bye number 10, because once you actually go to play them that week, then you're not going to end up being able to start them. So we're back up on the clock here. For me, the pick is going to be Stefon Diggs. I am falling more onto drafting Travis Hunter, but frankly, I just feel like Stefon Diggs is a whole lot safer. What he did in Houston last year was really incredible. Honestly, I expected him to almost kind of fall out of favor with this offense with so many weapons there. In New England, it is the exact opposite. He is the clear head honcho. He's the clear head of the table, Roman Reigns, in this offense. He is the best wide receiver on this team, and he's going to be a safety valve that Drake May can trust. He's a guy that you could just throw a 50-50 ball to, and you can hope Stefon Diggs stretch Armstrongs and grabs that bitch and takes it down. So Stefon Diggs is still very, very good. I understand that, you know, there's kind of that Patriots stink recently with the Patriots, and I get Stefon Diggs is a year older and he's coming off of injury. Maybe he starts slow, but I don't think any of that shit matters when you're getting him inside of the 8th round, so I do feel good about taking Stefon Diggs there. Now, at running back, Tajay Spears, dealing with an injury. He diagnosed as a high ankle sprain, will miss at least a couple of weeks. Week 1 status in question. I don't like to chase injuries in fantasy football. So right now, I'm not necessarily seeing 100% fade Tajay Spears, but at ADP, I'm probably not going to be taking him. Rachaad White is dealing with my groin injury he suffered in the first preseason game. That's not good either. no timetable to return, I don't want to be drafting that either. So for me in this range, it's definitely going to be Tank Bigsby. Now, again, we still have no idea what's happening with ETN. He could get traded. He could be stuck on the team. But I think Tank Bigsby could eventually become the RB1 on this team. And once you get into this range at the running back position, there's not a lot of the times where you're able to find a surefire starter for week 1. And since he is our RB3, I am perfectly fine taking him with that pick. After Tank Bigsby, we see Rachaad White, followed by Jacoby Myers, Tajay Spears, Khalil, Shakira, Austin Eckler, Travis Hunter, Hollywood Brown, Cooper Kupp, Ray Davis, Juwan Jennings, Matthew Golden, with Jaden Riley-Reed banged up with that. He has a boot on his foot. Shout out to Dora. I do think that moves up Matthew Golden. Now, I did see Jaden Reed doing push-ups with the boot on. He put the boot foot on top, on top of his other foot. He was doing push-ups. Respect to him for that. I still think Jaden Reed's going to be a big piece in this offense, but a lot of the reporters have been just given the gawk 9,000 special to Matthew Golden. A lot of the reports have been given fellatio to Matthew Golden, so I do feel very confident that he is going to be a part in this offense as a rookie. Jordan Love is dealing with an injury right now, but his ability to be available in week 1 is currently the expectation. He's undergoing a thumb procedure. Green Bay Packers quarterback Jordan Love is undergoing a thumb procedure for a ligament issue and expected to return to practice next week. So again, nothing to worry about, but if you are drafting later on in August or early September, you just want to keep that in mind. Right? You just want to keep that in the back of your head and make sure, hey, Jordan Love's good to go before you get hog wild on drafting some of these other players. So for me here, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, but it's going to be running back and wide receiver from here on out until we have to take our defense and kicker. No reason to take a backup quarterback. No reason to draft a backup tight end. Braylon Allen, another guy that has been getting the Sukala mink from the beat reporters. There have been a lot of news about more of a 1A, 1B scenario with Braylon Allen and Breece Hall. And frankly, I don't really believe that. I still do believe Breece Hall is the guy, but the first preseason game did kind of show us that they want to use Braylon Allen more. So at the very least, he's a handcuff. And if he's not a handcuff and they utilize him more, then you made a good pick here. And as a handcuff, he's a great handcuff as well, because I think if something was to happen to Breece Hall, knock on wood, we don't root for injuries, then Braylon Allen could be one of those guys that's like a superstar handcuff that helps you win your leagues, or at least win the weeks while Breece Hall is hurt. We will go wide receiver with this next pick here. Darnell Mooney. I really love Darnell. Here comes the Mooney. He's been a guy that I've been talking about for the last couple of years. Really struck gold with him last year, but he's dealing with an injury, and he is not 100% good to go. There's still, this report's from 14 days ago, will be reevaluated in a few weeks. Based on the report that I read today or yesterday, recently, it seems like he is far from a lock to start in week 1. Again, if he's a bench piece, okay, but even if he does come back early on the season, maybe that shoulder injury impacts his ability to catch the football and impacts the way that he's able to move his hands. And to me, that worries me enough to where it's like, do I really even want to be drafting Darnell Mooney when I could take Emeka Egbuka, when I could take my shot on Michael Pittman, maybe just retaining his role as the wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis. Maybe Christian Kirk plays a very big role in Houston. Maybe Rashid Shaheed is the wide receiver 1 like he was for last season, even with Chris Olave out there. Maybe Keon Coleman has the breakout year, and he is the wide receiver 1 on the Buffalo Bills, right? Darnell Mooney, you just know his role. He's the wide receiver 2 on the Atlanta Falcons when healthy. Emeka Egbuka, to me, will be the clear pick. He is everyone's favorite sleeper pick. Everyone loves Emeka Egbuka. We actually talked about this recently. When everyone is so heavily on a player like Egbuka, a lot of the times that is something that will be wee woo, time to panic, because if everyone likes him, then maybe we're just all a bunch of fish who are just buying the same narrative, and then we end up getting kicked to the curb. But the reason why I don't believe that this is some Fugazi narrative is because Chris Godwin is hurt and could be put on the PUP to start the season, missing the early season action. If that is the case, then Egbuka's just locked in to a role in an offense that was absolutely steamrolling teams last year with Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans. So I'm going to go Egbuka, and we're just going to hope that the player that he is, the ability that he possesses, does end up taking him over the top. And again, if Chris Godwin is seriously hurt, then man, oh man, you might have found a gold mine in the 11th round after Igbuka, Jonnu Smith, Keon Coleman, Isaac Garendo, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Tucker Kraft, Trey Harris, Colston Loveland, Rashad Master Bateman, Christian Kirk, Michael Pittman. Very interesting to see in fantasy drafts now is just how different a draft could be from one to the other. In some drafts, the tight ends come off the board rapid fire. Black Ops 1 zombies, right? Where Bowers, McBride, Kittle, they're always going anywhere from rounds 2 to round 4. Typically, Bowers is a round 2 pick. McBride comes quickly after that, either end of round 2, early round 3. And then typically there's a bit of a buffer between McBride and Kittle, but he's always gone by at least the middle of the 4th round, right? And then in some drafts, you're seeing a run at tight end, right? Where Laporta goes, then Hawkinson goes, then Andrews goes, then Kelsey goes, and then instantly everyone is panicking. They are shitting down their pant leg. They're like, oh my God, I need to draft my tight end. And then Evan Ingram instantly goes. And then boom, Tucker Kraft, David Njoku, Tyler Warren, right? They all come off the board. But here, we did see the tight end run happen in the 6th round with 3 tight ends picked from the 601 to the 605. But then after that, it cooled down until I took Travis Kelce. And then it cooled down even further until the 11th round where more tight ends went. It's always interesting to see the onesie positions like quarterback and tight ends where the runs typically occur, where if your league does hop onto the run or if they stay away. In this league, they stayed away from it, and you're able to get some solid value at tight end. But that's kind of the difficult thing about a run happening in fantasy drafts, because you don't know if you want to hop in the run, join the run, or stay away from it. Typically, I try to stay away from it. But in this kind of draft, fully staying away from it, not taking Kelsey there, I could have potentially gotten Kelsey a little bit later if the thought process of the other league mates pretending they're not some fucking robots, they're some real people, I might have been able to get a pretty big value. That actually happened in my home league draft I drafted yesterday. There's going to be a vlog on my YouTube channel of that draft once I'm done editing it. It took us like 3.5 hours, 4 hours to draft, so it's going to take me a while to edit it. I am not some genius editor, right? So it may take a while, but I was able to get Mark Andrews at a significant discount, and I felt very good about waiting for him. After, we saw Michael Pittman, Justin Herbert the Pervert, Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, Dylan Sampson, Jordan Love Me Tender, Love Me Sweet, Roshan Johnson, Keenan Allen, Zach Moss, who's not even on a team, Drake May, Jalen Wright, who looked kind of meh in preseason, even though I still like him, as well as Tyler Warren. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. So we're going to keep this balanced and go with our final pick as a running back. Man, did Will Shipley look good in preseason? He rushed 7 times for 48 yards in that preseason game up against the Bengals and also caught a ball as well. Will Shipley does look like an elite level handcuff if something was to happen to Saquon Barkley. So if you wanted to go with the handcuff, you could really go that way. I really like Nick Chubb as well. Not because I actually think Nick Chubb is still that good, but because if Joe Mixon misses time, I feel like they're going to go with Nick Chubb over Woody Marks. And Nick Chubb does have that dog in him, whether it's that old dog or it's not really that young puppy anymore. It's that old dog, but he still has that dog. He was also a Georgia Bull dog. I do like Nick Chubb. Just deep down, something about Chubb, man. It just makes me feel good. Pause. I like Nick Chubb, man. I just do. I just trust him. He's all reliable for me. And if Joe Mixon misses some time, I think Nick Chubb could end up fucking around and being just a decent piece. Not like a top 12 running back, but, you know, a decent flex if you're in a pinch. Now we're going to go ahead and draft our kicker and defense. We're going to go with Brandon Aubrey as our kicker. And then for our defense, the way you want to draft defenses is very simple. It's not draft the best defense available because, Nick, I think the Chiefs defense is really good, or I think the Lions defense is really good. Nah, all that matters is who they're playing in week 1. The Chiefs, they're playing the Chargers. The Lions, I believe, are playing the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. The Rams, they're playing up against the survey says Houston Texans with a dog shit offensive line. The Rams are going to be all over CJ Stroud like white on rice, and I expect the Rams defense to dominate 50 Shades of Grey style in week 1. Dominate like Shaquille O'Neal in the paint. Dominate like Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak. Now, after week 1, they might have a tougher matchup, and then you drop them like it's hot and pick up a new defense every single week. I make streaming defenses videos every week to help you guys out with that. So, our team, it is finito. It is finished. We have Lamar Jackson, Chase Brown, Tyrone Tracy, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, Travis Kelce, Ted McMillan, the Rams defense, Brandon Aubrey, Stephon Diggs, Tank Bigsby, Braylon Allen, Emeka Egbuka, and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think about this team. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are there too many Cincinnati Bengals? Too many guys on the AFC North? Let me know in the comment section because our starters are Lamar, AFC North, Jamar Chase, AFC North, Chase Brown, also on the same team, AFC North, and DK Metcalf, AFC North. But maybe, just maybe, those are players that are on good teams. Thank you guys all so much for watching, or at least good offenses. I love you long time. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. Get the draft guide link in the video description for $12.50. And check out Underdog, promo code Notorious. Get your free pick, plus a first-time deposit offer, plus get the draft guide for free with the $10 deposit. As long as you play with the $10, love you long time. Have a great one. As always, good boy.